thought number one is Timbaland, one of the biggest and best producers of all time, liked something that I made. First of all, knows about me. All right, so let's talk about music and AI for a moment. I want this to be just a straight up conversation, even though it's just me talking to a camera. But I definitely, before I even start talking about what we're going to talk about, I want you guys to sound off in the comments below, and I want to kind of have a conversation about something that I think is super important, and I think I have a role in this as having my community and being someone who's extremely well spoken. And yeah, I just want to talk about this. So AI and music, right? There's an app platform called Suno AI. And Suno AI, from my understanding, started out as a place that you could like upload music and type in prompts and get like a varied version. Hey, how you doing? Varied version of the music like created. And let's fast forward. Like right now, I believe you can just like type in anything. Like you can just type stuff in. Be like, hey, create a song that sounds like this, that's this, that has this and these lyrics or whatever, and this, a woman singing and this in the key of D. And I believe it can like create music for you. On the surface, very cool. Cool technology. I mean, kind of amazing when you think about it, right? The fact that there's a platform that can do this type of stuff. I've used it a few months ago. I've uploaded one of my four bar loops on there and asked it to create a full song from this in this style or something like that. And when I listened back to it, I was like, wow. I was amazed by it, honestly. I was like very impressed. I can still hear the DNA of my actual song there. And I was like, you know, this is cool. This saved me a lot of time from, you know, turning it from this amazing loop into something that's more full. And I was really impressed with it, honestly. Now, the other day, a few weeks ago, I saw a story post from someone named Johnny B. Good. I'm going to give him a shout out because it was a story post. So I don't think there's anything private about mentioning his name here. And it was a story like basically like things I'm okay with regarding AI and music. And it was like, maybe, I don't know, using it to help you generate ideas, or I forget exactly what the things he was okay with, but it was like things that I think were logical, made sense. And then it was like things I'm not okay with with AI and music. It was like specifically what Timbaland is doing or something along those lines, or anything that Timbaland does or something like that. And that was the first time that I took a step back and I was just remembering. I was like, okay, Timbaland, one of my favorite producers of all time. Top 3 for sure, for me personally. I've joined a few of his live streams. I paid somewhat close attention to the things that he's doing. He's kind of on like what you might want to call cutting edge for music technology and NFTs. And he was, you know, he's involved with a lot of that stuff. I understand too that he's on the board for Suno AI. I think the way that I found out about Suno AI was through a comment on one of my YouTube videos a while ago. And someone said something like, you know, you should check out what Timbaland is doing with this app called Suno. You know, he's on the record saying that this is like the most inspired that he's been in a very long time. And he's like spending hours, you know, getting ideas started and things like that on the app. And that was my first introduction to it. And I was like, okay, let me Google it. And then that was that 4 bar loop story that I told you earlier. So I read Johnny B. Good's story. I was like, okay, interesting. Okay. So what he's doing, like I understand that he's on the board, did some research, he meaning Timbaland, he's on the board of this company, right? So of course, you know, he wants to talk positive things about it and stuff like that. But I didn't know too much more about what he's doing with it. Now, fast forward a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks from there, that's when my man Dat's son came on and posted some story content about what Timbaland did. And evidently what I gathered from that was Timbaland used one of the most talented producers that I've come across on social media named K Fresh. He's nasty. Check him out if you don't know about him. I'll link his Instagram and stuff below. But he's really, really talented, right? But this video was a video of Timbaland vibing to a beat, seemingly created using the assistance or help of Suno AI. There wasn't a lot of context, but he was just vibing heavy to this beat. And the story after was a video of Cape Fresh vibing to a beat that he did create himself, and the DNA and the sounds of that beat were very similar to what Timbaland was vibing to. And it turns out, and this is where like I didn't do all this full-on detective work, but I had a conversation with my man Brandon Rico the other day, because he's in the know and in the mix and stuff, and I knew he would have an opinion. I knew that he's heard about the stuff that was going on with this, so we chatted, and it sounds like, I'm just gonna say sounds like, because again, I haven't vetted all this out. That's what the comment section below is for. But it sounds like Timbaland didn't ask for permission, heard this beat from K Fresh, and was like, oh, this sounds really dope. Let me screen record this, or however he's getting the audio from it. Let me throw this in Suno AI. Maybe let me throw something else in Suno AI and have it, maybe something else that he created, or something else that someone else created, whatever, I don't know. And let me have it create, he probably maybe put a prompt in there, I don't know, type the prompt, and let me have it create something, unique using these two things. So let's pause for a sec. And then he was vibing to it, right? And he didn't, to my knowledge, he didn't give K Fresh like, oh, yo, check this out. This is my man K Fresh's beat that I'm doing. He didn't do any of that, okay? So there are a few thoughts that I have about this. There are definitely a few thoughts. Thought number one is Timbaland, one of the biggest and best producers of all time, liked something that I made. First of all, knows about me. How did he find my content? How did he find my page? Wow, he's on my page. He checked out my stuff. Like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I know my stuff is dope. I'm speaking from K Fresh's perspective, and I'm speaking from my perspective right now, because I also know my stuff is dope, right? And so the idea is that, like, if someone like Timbaland, Kanye, Pharrell, one of these big name artists, found my stuff and did something with it, and I didn't, there was no tag or acknowledgement or anything, it would be a mixed bag of feelings. I would be, in a way, so intrigued and so interested in the fact that there's like a stamp of approval there, right? And then the other side of it is I would be sad, I think, right, that I didn't get the, like, hey, I want to talk to you, like, let's collab, or something like that, right? So I get that 1000%. Now, in terms of the legal aspect, which I don't understand as well, again, I'm gonna keep saying it, it's like, let's sound off below. It was my understanding that, like, if I post something, and this could be music, or this could be, like, I think this has happened with Kanye and some sample that he used before of like a person singing, or just a person talking, right? So like, if you post something on social media, and I don't know the answer to this question, but if you post it, do other people have the right to just record it and use part of it in their song or something? I don't know how all that works enough to be able to speak to it intelligently. You created it, so it's yours technically, but when you upload it on Instagram, is it now like a free-for-all where anyone can use it? And obviously there's easy ways to get the audio, right? Screen recording and stuff. So I do not know how all that works. What I do know is that AI is the dumbest that it will ever be at this moment, and it's pretty damn smart in itself right now. What I do know is that there's a lot of concern with a lot of artists, understandably so, whether that's visual artists, music artists, or anywhere in between, or anywhere outside of those two. There's concern. I talked to someone the other day. I'm not a visual artist. Sometimes I want, visual art to accompany my music, or visual art to, like, I see people, using, my man Kim, uses what I imagine, right, AI. I have no idea to be sure, but he's using AI to get, like animated graphics, pictures, cartoons of things that he's talking about for his business, which is like, yeah, why not use that instead of paying somebody money to hand create this thing that I can get? Like, yeah, why not use that, right? And for all you visual artists out there, that might be like a slap in the face or sound like it or something, but the fact of the matter is that, and this goes for the music artists too, because I'm gonna talk about it on the other side in just a second, But the fact of the matter is that like, instead of us complaining about the things that we're going to be losing out on in lieu of technology being able to replace us, I think that, and I don't know this to be true or not, but I think that there is obviously going to be one of the most significant shifts ever in this world, right? When it continues to replace the things that we're used to, people doing, right? But there's a way, I think, to leverage it. And I don't know exactly what that way is. I will just say that I have to say on the other end too, right? As someone who I make music. I love making instrumental music. I make music that, I haven't done what I needed to do. I haven't done my work to get it to the places that it needs to go. But like stuff that I feel is destined for a jingle, or destined for a cartoon or an anime or a video game commercial. Like that's the type of stuff, right, that I make, that I just make just naturally. Now granted, there's some stuff that I make that I was listening to the other day. I'm like, oh, someone could rap over this or sing over this. It would be a hit, in my opinion. Okay, fine. But most of the stuff is the former. But like, if that's the case, but now there's these platforms that can make stuff like, and that's the question. How good is AI for music making, for creative stuff going to get? Is it going to get so good where it's able to make something that sounds significantly better, or even just better than something that a talented music producer can do on, his or her own? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that's going to happen? I don't know. I'm curious about that. But I do think this thing with Timbaland is kind of like, I think that he definitely missed the mark. I think, I would love to have a conversation with him like, hey, did you know that there was going to be backlash? Did you even think about tagging the artist that, use your stuff? And I get the idea of like, people saying that, AI is being trained by, it's like a ton of input, right, from music. And this is not just the music stuff, but also like open, like large language models and stuff like that, is being trained by just a ton. We can't even fathom it, right? Just like a ton of data, just a whole bunch of information. And like, I get that. And people say that there is a correlation between that and the fact that any of the music or any of the art that's being created is inspired by, to the best of our, puny brain's ability, right? I'm saying puny compared to these large language models and what's going on behind the scenes there. But like, saying it jestfully is what I'm trying to say, right? Tongue in cheek, as some might call it. But it's kind of analogous, right? These two things, right? My stuff is inspired, whether I realize it or not, by the type of music and stuff that I enjoy. Like that's what's informing the music that I create. And maybe there's some synergy, between them, or synergy is not the right word. Maybe there's just some correlation there between the two of them. And AI is doing that too, but it's just doing it in a much more sophisticated way, and it's doing it in a way that it needs to do that. It can't not be inspired or informed by other stuff, otherwise it wouldn't work, right? So I don't know. I just wanted to share this just because, like I said, like I have my show that I used to do, Khordmaster Keys, where I, interview people and stuff, and I haven't done that for quite a while. At some point, I think I would get back to it once it makes sense to do so. It's just, you have to kind of allocate time to where it makes sense. But I think, I don't know, like conversations like this can still be very, very vital. I think that people do need to talk about this. Like, I'm excited. I'm going to send this to everybody that I mentioned in the video, just because they're, including Timbaland and K Fresh, just because there's I want to see what people think about it. And I want, I'd love for you guys to comment below, and everyone who wasn't mentioned in the video, who just has some interest or intrigue about this topic, definitely love to hear from you guys and keep the conversation going. And maybe this is something that we, potentially have a follow-up on. Like, I love learning from you guys. Like, I did a video a long while ago talking about how I much prefer USB-C on all my equipment, just because it's so much more easy to have a cable that's the same on both ends versus like one that's USB-C on one end and USB type B or mini or micro or whatever on the other end. And that was I had a strong stance on that, right? Like I would get upset when products were released and it's like they don't have USB-C on them. Like, why? Like, isn't that the future? Like, what's the reason to be going backwards? And people had some really great opinions. Several people in there commented about USB Type B, aka the printer cable, right? The one that's like a square, bigger cable. And they talked about how, no, Kev, I much prefer my equipment to be USB Type B. It's more robust. It stays inside the unit. It's not going to like fall out or come out or anything like that. And these were thoughts that I've never thought about. I still feel strongly enough where I say I get that, but for someone who does some stuff mobilely and some stuff, you know, like in the studio, having just that one cable and everything still means a lot to me, right? It's still significant enough, especially on stuff that can be used somewhat mobile, like somewhat, you know, transportable or whatever. So yeah, anyway, that's a bit of a divergent, bit of a tangent there, but that's where I wanted to leave it. So hopefully you guys found some insight in the video. Sound off in the comments. Let's continue the conversation from there. And thank you very much for listening. Talk to you guys later. Peace.